Welcome back to Phoenix English classes. We are going to start with the second part of the chapter Lost Spring, that is written by Anish Jung. For the previous part, you can watch the previous video which has been entitled there as Lost Spring Part 1. So without any much ado, let's start with the second part. Rag picking is art. Children grow up in them, becoming partners in survival. And survival in Simapuri means rag picking. Through the years, it has acquired the proportions of a fine art. Garbage to them is gold. It is their daily bread, a roof over their heads, even if it is a leaking roof. But for a child, it is even more. I sometimes find a rupee, even a 10 rupee note, Sahib says, his eyes lighting up. When you can find a silver coin in a heap of garbage, you don't stop scrounging, for there is hope in finding more. It seems that for children, garbage has a meaning different from what it means to their parents. For the children, it is wrapped in wonder. For the elders, it is a means of survival. Means Anish Jung tells us that Simapuri is a slum. It was inhabited by those rag pickers who had come from Bangladesh. They lived a very miserable life. They could not think of doing anything else except of rag picking, and once they got something as a coin, as a rupee, she calls it gold also, their hope of finding more does not let them sway from the heap of garbage, and the children continuously try to find something in the garbage. कचरा बीनना एक कला। बच्चे उन झुग्गियों में आजीविका के साझीदार बनते हुए बड़े होते हैं, और सीमापुरी में आजीविका का मतलब है कचरा बीनना। वर्षों से चलते रहने के बाद अब ये एक ललित कला बन गई है। उनके लिए कचरा ही सोना है। ये उनके लिए रोज़ का भोजन है, उनके सिर की छत है, भले ही ये छत टपकने वाली क्यों ना हो। लेकिन एक बच्चे के लिए ये इन सबसे कहीं अधिक है। कभी कभी मुझे 1 रुपया मिल जाता है इसमें, यहाँ तक कि 10 का नोट भी, साहब कहता है तो उसकी आंखें चमक उठती हैं। जब आपको कचरे के ढेर में एक चांदी का सिक्का मिल जाता है तो फिर आप और अधिक पाने की आशा में अपनी खोज रोक नहीं सकते। ऐसा प्रतीत होता है कि बच्चों के लिए कचरे का मतलब उनके माता पिता से बिल्कुल अलग है। बच्चों के लिए ये आश्चर्य में लिपटी हुई एक चीज़ है, जबकि माता पिता के लिए यह आजीविका का एकमात्र साधन है। Sahib's love for sports. One winter morning, I see Sahib standing by the fenced gate of the neighborhood club, watching 2 young men dressed in white playing tennis. I like the game, he hums, content to watch it standing behind the fence. I go inside when no one is around, he admits. The gatekeeper lets me use the swing. Sahib too is wearing tennis shoes that took a strange over his discolored shirt and shorts. Someone gave them to me, he says in the manner of an explanation. खेल में साहब की रुचि। जाड़ों की एक सुबह मैंने साहब को पड़ोस के क्लब के गेट के पास खड़े होकर 2 युवकों को सफ़ेद कपड़े पहने टेनिस खेलते हुए देखा। मुझे ये खेल पसंद है, वो बुदबुदाता है। वो कांटे की बाड़ के बाहर से ही खेल देखकर संतुष्ट हो जाता है। मैं अंदर जाता हूँ जब कोई आसपास नहीं होता, वो स्वीकार करता है। गेट कीपर मुझे झूलना झूलने देता है। साहब स्वयं भी टेनिस वाले जूते पहनता है, जो कि उसकी रंग छोड़ चुकी शॉर्ट्स और शर्ट पे अजीब सा लगता है। वो सफाई देने वाले लहजे में कहता है, ये मुझे किसी ने दिए हैं। Change in Saheb's lot. The fact that they are discarded shoes of some rich boy who perhaps refused to wear them because of a hole in one of them does not bother him. For one who has walked barefoot, even shoes with a hole is a dream come true. But the game he is watching so intently is out of his reach. This morning, Saheb is on his way to the milk booth. In his hand is a steel canister. I now work in a tea stall down the road, he says, pointing in the distance. Here we see that there is a change in fate of the boy whose name is Saheb. He was seen walking on the road. He had a steel canister in his hand, and he was going towards the milk booth. He was going there to take milk, but it was not for himself, because Saheb was now a boy who was working for a tea shop owner. He was doing it for the master of the tea stall. This makes the writer think what has happened with this boy, and at once the boy not only understands the question in her eyes but also tries to make a reply, and he plainly says that he is no more a rag picker boy, but he is a boy to fetch and carry for the owner of a tea stall, and the tea stall is there down the road. साहब के भाग्य में परिवर्तन। ये सच है कि वे जूते किसी अमीर बच्चे के फेंके हुए थे, जिसने उन्हें शायद पहनने से मना कर दिया होगा, क्योंकि उनमें से एक जूते में छेद हो गया था। ये बात साहब को परेशान या दुखी नहीं करता था। एक बच्चा जो नंगे पैर घूमता हो, उसके लिए छेद वाले जूते भी किसी सपने के साकार होने जैसे था। लेकिन वो खेल जिसे वो इतने गौर से देख रहा था, वो उसकी पहुंच से बाहर था। इस सुबह साहब मिल्क बूथ वाले रास्ते पर जा रहा था। उसके हाथ में एक स्टील का कनस्तर था। मैं अब उस सड़क के आगे वाली चाय की दुकान पर काम करता हूँ, वो कुछ दूर की तरफ संकेत करते हुए मुझे बताता है। साहब, no longer his own master. I am paid 800 rupees and all my meals. Does he like the job? I ask. His face, I see, has lost the carefree look. The steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly over his shoulder. The bag was his. The canister belongs to the man who owns the tea shop. Saheb is no longer his own master. Here in this part of the story, Anish Jung tells us that the boy, Saheb, he tries to tell the writer that he is well off now because he is paid 800 rupees and all his meals at the tea shop is free. Yet When the writer asks him a question, if he really likes the job of doing fetch and carry for the tea shop owner, she clearly feels that the glow, that the joy, which had been a mark of the face of that boy, had already gone. There was no joy of doing some work. The difference was there because he was no more his own master. The bag was his, he was doing everything for himself, even if it was just the work of rag picking. It was his own work, he was the master of himself. But now, although he does almost neat and clean work, and he was well paid off also, he was in any case only a servant, and that makes him uneasy, and that had stolen the natural hue, the natural carefree look of his face. साहब, अब स्वयं अपना मालिक नहीं, मुझे 800 रुपये पगार मिलती है और तीनों वक्त का भोजन भी। क्या उसे ये काम पसंद है, मैं पूछती हूँ, और मैं देखती हूँ कि उसका चेहरा अपनी बेपरवाह रंगत को खो चुका है। वह स्टील का कनस्तर उसे अपने प्लास्टिक के उस थैले से ज़्यादा भारी प्रतीत होता है जिसे वो बड़े आराम से अपने कंधे पर लादे घूमा करता था। वो थैला उसका अपना था, ये कनस्तर उस आदमी का है जो चाय की दुकान का मालिक है। जो भी हो, साहब अब स्वयं अपना मालिक नहीं रहा। I want to drive a car. I want to drive a car. Mukesh insists on being his own master. I will be a motor mechanic, he announces. Do you know anything about cars? I ask. I will learn to drive a car, he answers. Looking straight into my eyes, his dream looms like a mirage amidst the dust of streets that fill his town Firozabad, famous for its bangles. Every other family in Firozabad is engaged in making bangles. It is the center of India's glass blowing industry, where families have spent generations working around furnaces, welding glass, making bangles for all the women in the land, it seems. Here Anish Jung starts with another story of another boy whose name is Mukesh. When she asks the boy about his future plans, he very boldly says that he will become a motor mechanic. When the writer asks him once again, you want to become a motor mechanic, do you have any idea about the cars, what the cars are? He boldly says, his answer that he makes eye in eye with the writer shows his determination. He says, I will learn to drive a car. But this dream of the boy seems to be only a thing that lurks in the mirage, and perhaps his dream of becoming his own master or becoming a motor mechanic is perhaps going to be spoiled, is going to be destroyed amidst the dust of Firozabad, which is famous for bangles, and the deprived ones, the exploited ones, are doomed to work in that glass factory, in those bangle factories. And almost every family, every poor family has spent its generations working there in the Bengals family. Mukesh is also one of them. मैं कार चलाना चाहता हूँ। ये मुकेश की जिद है कि वो कार चलाना चाहता है, वो खुद अपना मालिक बनेगा। उसने इस बात की घोषणा कर दी, मैं मोटर मैकेनिक बनूंगा। मैं पूछती हूँ, क्या तुम कार के बारे में कुछ भी जानते हो? वो मुझसे नज़रें मिलाते हुए उत्तर देता है, मैं कार चलाना सीख लूँगा। उसके सपने उन गलियों की धूल में मृग तृष्णा जैसे हैं जो कि चूड़ियों के लिए मशहूर उसके शहर फिरोज़ाबाद को भर देती है। फिरोज़ाबाद में हर परिवार चूड़ियाँ बनाने के काम में लगा हुआ है। ये भारत के कांच उद्योग का केंद्र है, जहाँ परिवारों ने भट्टियों के पास काम करते हुए, कांच को जोड़ते हुए, लगता है देश की सारी महिलाओं के लिए चूड़ियाँ बनाते हुए अपनी पीढ़ियाँ गुजारी हैं। Child labor. Mukesh's family is among them. None of them know that it is illegal for children like him to work in the glass furnaces with high temperatures in dingy cells without air and light. That the law, if enforced, could get him and all those 20,000 children out of the hot furnaces where they slog their daylight hours, often losing the brightness of their eyes. Here Anish Jung tells us about the plight of the children who live there in Firozabad and they work in glass factories. Mukesh is also one of those families who are so poor and so illiterate that they do not know anything about the laws, about the rules of the nation. They even don't know that it is illegal that they send or they involve in such kind of activity which is called child labor. The glass factory, the Bengal factory, they are hazardous industries, and the law of the land does not permit the minor children to work in such factories, in such hazardous industries. And if somehow this law can be enforced, that this law can be implemented there, not only Mukesh but almost 20,000 children there in Firozabad alone could be made free. Up to now, these children are doomed to work in that worst kind of situation, that worst kind of climate, environment. And the effect of that environment is that most of the children often lose their eyesight at a very tender age. बाल श्रम। मुकेश का परिवार उन्हीं में से एक है। उनमें से किसी को नहीं पता है कि उनके जैसे बच्चों को बेहद गर्म भट्टियों में, गंदे, बिना स्वच्छ हवा और रोशनी वाली कोठरियों में काम करना गैर कानूनी है। और यदि कानून का पालन करवाया जाए तो उसे और उसके जैसे 20,000 बच्चों को इन गर्म भट्टियों से बाहर निकाला जा सकता है। वे गर्म भट्टियाँ जहाँ पे वो दिन भर कड़ी मेहनत करते हैं और अक्सर ये बच्चे अपनी आँख की रोशनी खो देते हैं। Mukesh's house. Mukesh's eyes beam as he volunteers to take me home, which he proudly says is being rebuilt. We walk down stinking lanes choked with garbage, past homes that remain hovels with crumbling walls, wobbly doors, no windows, crowded with families of humans and animals coexisting in a primeval state. He stops at the door of one such house, bangs a wobbly iron door with his foot, and pushes it open. Mukesh is very happy because Anish Jung, when he volunteers to take her home, she agrees and she wants to see in what condition such such boys like Mukesh live in Firozabad. And he very proudly says that his house is being rebuilt. The writer and this boy, they walk down the streets that are full of garbage. There is stinking air everywhere. The homes, hardly we can call them homes. They are hovels, they are huts in a very poor condition. They are almost in ruins. There is no window. The doors are wobbly. They are not well set in the walls. And not only these things are uh, very pathetic, but they live in the houses where not only human beings but their pet animals also live with them. There is a coexistence like that of the uh, ancient ages when there was no civilization. The human beings in their very beginning of the history started living. They live with the dogs, with the animals, with their pets in the same condition. The people there in that part of the slum in Firozabad, they live such a life. After a walk, they reach the house, and this house is also one of them. It was also a very poorly built house. It was half built only, and there was a wobbly iron door. He kicks it as to give information that I have come home, and then he pushes it open. मुकेश का घर। मुकेश की आंखों में चमक आ जाती है जब वो मुझे अपने मन से अपने घर ले जाता है, जिसे वो शान से कहता है कि हमारा घर दोबारा बनाया जा रहा है। हम कचरे से पटी बदबूदार गलियों में से, हिलते हुए दरवाज़ों, बिना खिड़की वाले ऐसे घरों के पास से गुजरे जो टूटी दीवारों के खंडहर मात्र रह गए। फिर भी इनमें लोग अपने परिवारों और जानवर की भीड़ के साथ बिल्कुल आदिम अवस्था में रहते हैं। वो ऐसे ही एक घर के दरवाजे पर रुकता है और एक हिलते हुए लोहे के दरवाजे पर अपने पैर से दस्तक देता है, मानो बताने के लिए कि वो घर वापस आ गया है, और फिर धक्का देकर इस दरवाजे को खोलता है। इनसाइड द हाउस we enter a half-built shack. In one part of it, thatched with dead grass, is a firewood stove over which sits a large vessel of the sizzling spinach leaves. On the ground, in large aluminium platters, are more chopped vegetables. A frail young woman is cooking the evening meal for the whole family. Through eyes filled with smoke, she smiles. Anish Jung says that as they enter the half-built hovel, the half-built house, one part of this house was thatched, and in that part of the thatch there was firewood stove, and a woman, she is a young woman, she is very lean and thin. She is the daughter-in-law of the family. She was preparing evening food, and the utensils there were made of aluminium. On one hand, there was spinach on the stove, and on the other hand, on other aluminium platters, there were some chopped vegetables put. It seems that she was preparing for the evening food. As she looks at them, she gives a smile, although her eyes were filled with smoke because she is sitting beside the stove, and the stove is wooden one. She is burning the firewood. There is smoke in the eyes, but she gives a smile because the guest has come. घर के अंदर हम एक अर्धनिर्मित झोपड़ी में दाखिल होते हैं। इसके एक हिस्से में जो सूखी घास से ढका हुआ है, यानी जो छपरे जैसे स्ट्रक्चर से बना हुआ है, लकड़ी से जलने वाला चूल्हा है उस हिस्से में, और उस पर एक बड़े से बर्तन में पालक उबल रही है, और वहीं ज़मीन पर एल्युमिनियम के कुछ बर्तन में और भी कटी हुई सब्जियां रखी हुई हैं। एक दुबली सी महिला है जो पूरे परिवार के लिए शाम की रसोई बना रही है। हमें देखकर वो धुएं भरी आंखों से वो मुस्कुराती है। लेडी ऑफ द हाउस, शी इज़ द वाइफ ऑफ मुकेश's elder brother. Not much older in years, she has begun to command respect as the bahu, the daughter-in-law of the house, already in charge of 3 men, her husband, Mukesh, and their father. When the older man enters, she gently withdraws behind the broken wall and brings her wheel closer to her face. As custom demands, daughters-in-law must wheel their faces before male elders. Here in this part of the story, we come to know more about the character of the housewives there in Firozabad, in the slums of Firozabad. The woman who gave a smile on seeing the guest, she is the wife of Mukesh's elder brother. She is not so old, she is also a young lady, but she has started to command the respect as the bahu of the family, and she was taking care of 3 men. One was her husband, other was Mukesh, and their father. And this was witnessed by Anish Jung as soon as the father, the father-in-law of that woman, enters the hut. She gently withdraws behind the broken wall, and the veil that was not very close to her face, she draws it closer to the face. She is doing what the custom demands. In the custom of the family, it is thought that the daughters-in-law should be in veil if there is any male elder in the house, and she is doing it very well. बहुरानी, वो मुकेश के बड़े भाई की पत्नी है। उम्र में ज़्यादा बड़ी नहीं है। वो घर की बहू होने का अधिकारपूर्ण सम्मान धारण करती है। घर की पुत्रवधू पहले से ही घर के 3 पुरुषों की जिम्मेदारी उठा रही है। उसका पति है मुकेश और उनके पिता। जब बूढ़ा आदमी अंदर आता है तो बड़ी शालीनता के साथ टूटी हुई दीवार की आड़ में चली जाती और घूंघट को चेहरे के और पास कर लेती है। जैसा कि रिवाज है कि बहू को घर के वरिष्ठ पुरुषों के सामने घूंघट करना पड़ता है। Another bangle maker. In this case, the elder is an impoverished bangle maker. Despite long years of hard labor, first as a tailor, then a bangle maker, he has failed to renovate a house, send his 2 sons to school. All he has managed to do is teach them what he knows, the art of making bangles. Here we come to know that the father, the old man who has just arrived, is also a bangle maker. He has struggled during his life and he worked very hard. First, he started his career as a tailor, then, ultimately, he came back to his own trade, that was bangle making. And with this little earning with bangle making, he could not do anything. What he could do was only to renovate the house, and he failed sending his sons to the school. But what he has managed to do for the children was to teach them his own art, and this art was nothing else except of making bangles. एक और चूड़ियाँ बनाने वाला। इस घर में भी वरिष्ठ पुरुष एक गरीब चूड़ी बनाने वाला है। वर्षों की कड़ी मेहनत के बाद भी, पहले एक दर्जी के रूप में और फिर एक चूड़ी बनाने वाले के रूप में, वो एक नया मकान बनाने में सफल रहा था, पर अपने 2 बेटों को स्कूल नहीं भेज पाया था। जो कुछ भी वो कर सका वो इतना ही था कि उसने अपने बेटों को सब कुछ सिखाया जो उसे खुद आता था, वही एक काम, चूड़ियाँ बनाने की कला। Destiny rules. It is his karam, his destiny, says Mukesh's grandmother, who has watched her own husband go blind with the dust from polishing the glass of bangles. Can a God-given lineage ever be broken? She implies. Born in the caste of bangle makers, they have seen nothing but bangles. In the house, in the yard, in every other house, every other yard, every street in Firozabad. Here, the thing why these people are bound to do the same works, the same bangle making work, is that they had surrendered and they have made it their own caste. They say, if we are born in the family of bangle makers, we are doomed to do only this trade. We cannot go beyond that, because it is the will of God. It is God given lineage. We cannot break it. It is the custom. We have to do it at any cost. We cannot break this lineage, and only bangle making is there for the survival of these bangle makers, ages after ages. And they have seen nothing except the bangles everywhere, in the house, in the yard, in every other house, in every other yard. There is only one thing in Firozabad, and that is bangles. You cannot escape that. That's why you are doomed to be a bangle maker if you are born in the family of bangle makers. भाग्य का लेखा, ये उसका कर्म है, उसकी नियति, मुकेश की दादी कहती, जो अपने पति को कांच की चूड़ियों पर पालिश चढ़ाते अंधे होते हुए देख चुकी हैं। क्या कभी भगवान की बनाई परिपाटी तोड़ी जा सकती है? वो इशारा करती हैं। चूड़ियाँ बनाने वालों की जाति में पैदा होकर उन्होंने कुछ और देखा ही नहीं था सिवाय चूड़ियाँ बनाने के। घर में, आंगन में, हर दूसरे घर में, हर दूसरे आंगन में, फिरोज़ाबाद की हर गली में सिर्फ चूड़ियाँ। Bangles all around. Spirals of bangles. Sunny gold, paddy green, royal blue, pink, purple, every color born out of the 7 colors of the rainbow. Line mounds in unkempt yards are piled on 4 wheels hand carts pushed by young men along the narrow lanes of the shanty town. And in dark hutments, next to lines of flames of flickering oil lamps, sit boys and girls with their fathers and mothers, welding pieces of colored glass into circles of bangles. She says that what the grandmother has said is almost correct, because these poor children who are born in the families of bangle makers, they had seen nothing in their life. From ages they have seen only bangles, bangles of every kind, bangles of all the colors that can be there in the rainbows. There are mounds, there are spirals of bangles everywhere, on the four-wheeled hand carts, in the yards. All the young men, all the young women, all the children, all the boys and girls, they are all busy sitting beside a lamp and welding the glasses into circles of bangles. Perhaps this was the work and this was the destiny, everything, because they were all surrounded by bangles. हर तरफ चूड़ियाँ, चूड़ियों के घेरे, चमकीली सुनहरी, धानी हरी, शाही नीली, गुलाबी, बैगनी, हर एक रंग जो इंद्रधनुष के 7 रंगों से बन सकता है, बिखरे हुए आंगन में ढेर लगे हैं। 4 पहियों वाली हाथ गाड़ियों में ढेर लगे हैं, जिनको नौजवान झुग्गी झोपड़ी वाले शहर की तंगलियों में धकेलते हैं, और अंधेरी झोपड़ियों में जलते हुए तेल के लैंपों की कतार के पास लड़के और लड़कियां अपने माता पिता के साथ रंगीन कांच की चूड़ियां जोड़ते हुए बैठे रहते हैं। Here comes the end of the second part of this story, because the story is longer enough and we cannot complete it in a single video, because it will become too long, perhaps it will become too boring also. That's why we are breaking it into segments, and this second segment I think would be very clear to you. If you find anything difficult, any word, any line, any phrase, any sentence, if you think it is a bit difficult only, you can write it to me in the comment, and your comment will be answered. No doubt I will try my best to make your study easier than ever, as I have promised, but ultimately it has to be done from your side. The only thing that I require is not only a devotion to your studies, but also curiosity. That is the key to success. And if you are curious, no doubt you will find something that can be asked. You will find something that is still in the dark, and perhaps I could not have taken that part of the story for explanation. You can ask me anytime, every time, without any hesitation, and I hope you will get benefit of this video. Thanks for being with me. Keep studying, keep improving yourself, and keep liking us.